Amy Petty used to call this place work. Then on April 19th, 1995, it represented despair. But now when she comes here, she finds hope, something she says only God can give.
April 19th started out so beautiful. You know, red buds in bloom. I remember the wind was actually decent that morning. I was working for Federal Employees Credit Union, which was the credit union for everyone in the building, on the 3rd floor. I went and sat down at my desk, and I worked front and center in the Murrah Building. If I would have walked just a few feet forward and looked out the window and looked down, I would have actually seen the Ryder truck sitting there. I sat down at my desk, and a coworker who was 7 months pregnant came and sat down right beside me. And I turned to ask her what she needed, and I don't know if the words even came out or not, because that's when it happened, and that's when the bomb went off. I heard just this tremendous roaring. It was so loud. I could hear people screaming, and everything went black, and I had this powerful, like, rushing sensation, like I was falling to the ground. And I was actually falling 3 floors and was buried under about 10 feet of rubble. I couldn't see anything. The screaming stopped, and I was trying to call out, but nobody would answer. And so I just laid there. It was hot. It was very hard to breathe. I remember I had concrete, like tons of pieces of concrete or something in my mouth. After some 45 minutes passed, I heard men's voices, and they were looking for the daycare area. I heard them talking. They said, "This is where the children are. Let's look for the daycare." And so I started screaming my head off, and he started yelling, "We have a live one. We have a live one. I need backup. I need help." And he started hollering for help, and he said, "We can't see you. We've got to follow the sound of your voice. So keep talking to us. Stay with us. Keep talking to us." So we sat there talking, and that's when I found out it was a bomb. Everything was stuck. I mean, I couldn't move. I was still in my chair, upside down, in the rubble pile with my right hand sticking out. And so they came across my hand, and I'm thinking, you know, they're just gonna grab my hand and, you know, 1, 2, 3, pull me up and I'm out. I didn't understand my situation, how badly I was trapped.
Then Amy heard someone say there was another bomb, and everyone had to leave.
I immediately began saying over and over again, "My name is Amy Petty. Please tell my family I love them. My name is Amy Petty." I knew that this was it, so I wanted a chance to say goodbye, and with that, they were gone. And I thought, you know, I'm getting ready to step into eternity, and how do I answer for the time that I've spent here, and what have I done to help others? I had a lot of time to reflect on everything from the small stuff to the big stuff. I thought about the weight. I had gained 200 pounds.
Amy says she was ashamed of her weight, which caused her to pull away from childhood friends. Now she knew at any moment her life could end, and broken relationships filled her with regret.
I remember trying to, you know, at that point thinking, okay, I need to just quit breathing and try to die peacefully or fall asleep. And, you know, maybe if I could fall asleep, then it won't hurt. There was a song that we used to sing growing up in church, a praise and worship song, and I actually started singing that. I felt the most incredible peace. I really did. It was unbelievably, it was just supernatural. I don't know any other way to explain it. I haven't ever felt anything like it since. I didn't know that I was going to make it out alive, but I knew that everything was going to be okay.
But Amy's hope was restored when she found out there wasn't a second bomb, only an ATF training device.
It was about 45 minutes that I was left alone. And they came back and they started working to get me out. It took them 6.5 hours. These men were risking their lives to get me out in one piece. It was a very unstable portion of the building. So I am forever grateful to them. The time came, they said, okay, we're gonna count to 3 and pull. This is probably gonna hurt. And I'd been telling them, you know, I don't care, do what you have to do, just get me out, you know. And I'll never forget looking around for the first time, and my mind could not comprehend what I was seeing. It was like something out of a movie. I remember looking up at the sky, and it looked like the middle of winter. You know, that morning it had been so beautiful, and now it was cold and dark, and it was drizzling, and it didn't even look like the same day. But I'll never forget taking that first breath of fresh air. I will never forget making a promise right then and there to God that I was not going to live my life the same.
Amy spent 8 days in the hospital. She had plenty of superficial cuts from glass, but the major injury was on her leg. She says there was a huge gaping hole in it, but it was nothing compared to the emotional wound she felt.
I had found out that my closest friend that they had found her body. Robin, who was sitting beside me, 7 months pregnant, was killed. One by one, I'm finding out that 18 of my 33 coworkers were killed. The main thing was just wishing that I had shared with them how much they meant to me and what a positive impact that they were on my life. And I never said those things. We don't do that in the workplace, a lot. That's not professional. Well, I do it now. I don't want to be in a situation again where I'm sitting at their funeral wishing that I would have told them. It was very difficult. The first few years after the bombing were very traumatic, and I was doing the best I could do just to function day in and day out.
Then Amy learned it's not just about life, it's about really living. And that's when everything changed.
I decided I need to tackle this weight issue. For the first few years, my leg gave me quite a bit of difficulty. Over the years, some of the nerves have been coming back.
But she kept going to the gym and found a love for bicycling.
I'm president of the Oklahoma Bicycle Society now. I'm training for the full marathon this year. Working out has definitely replaced the eating. I've lost 200 pounds. I like being able to cycle and run and do all those kinds of things. I love meeting all of the people that are out there doing these kinds of things. It makes me feel good.
It wasn't just the weight Amy changed. She also decided to have a child. Now her 12-year-old son is her pride and joy.
I view life very, very differently than I did before. I have that feeling that I'm living on borrowed time. I kept remembering that moment, that I promised that I'm not living my life the same.
But not everything in Amy's new life was perfect. She dealt with flashbacks and anger.
I did struggle with really, feeling a lot of bitterness about what was done, and particularly to McVeigh, because his whole demeanor in the courtroom and everything just seemed to scream, I'm proud of it, and it just brought forth such feelings of hate and bitterness from me over what he did. But I do have to let that go, because otherwise I'm harming myself. I'm just allowing them to harm me further if I hang on to all that bitterness. If you can take evil and turn around and use it for good, then do so. We all end up buried in the rubble at some point or time in our lives. I literally was. But all of us end up there, whether it is a medical situation, a divorce, and it is not so much what happens to you, it is how you choose to respond to it. We can't control everything that happens to us, but you can control how you choose to respond to it, and that's what makes all the difference in the world. You don't have to go through tough times alone, and we can't always depend on other people, to help us. We're human and we're flawed, and you can't always depend on another person, but for me, I can always depend on God.
Amy says she spent a lot of time in counseling, which helped her not feel so alone. It also gave her the courage to move on.
I still work at the same credit union. We changed our name to Allegiance Credit Union, but I still work there. There's 5 of us that survived that are still there. I see my friends' chairs. I remember them all the time. But April 19th is a way for us to honor their memory, and we want the family members to know that we haven't forgotten.